All right, we're back, and now we're going to talk Browns. We bring in our Browns beat reporter, Mary Kay Cabot. Mary Kay, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
Doing all right, Mary Kay. Another week of OTAs, and let's get right to it. Johnny Manziel, he had that bottle throwing incident over the weekend. It seems like the fan that was asking for his autograph was going way over the top. But again, it's Johnny Manziel in the news. It's Manziel in the news in a negative way. Mike Pettin called it a non-story. Right now, what are your thoughts on that incident and how Mike Pettin played it?
Well, you know what? I actually think that, I understand what Mike was trying to do by saying it's a non-story, but really anything involving Johnny and Johnny, kind of losing his temper and being involved in a fan incident is a story. So, I do think that Mike could have handled that a little bit differently. I think he could have said, look, we've looked into it. We are comfortable that Johnny didn't throw the bottle directly at the fan, that he was just trying to kind of spike it in frustration. He was being heckled for a few hours and, was kind of pushed beyond his limits. We've talked to him about it, and, we're comfortable with the resolution of this, and we're going to move on from this, and we don't feel it's a distraction. I think that would have been the right answer. I don't think saying it's a non-story is the right answer. When you look back to last offseason, they kept on saying Johnny in Vegas is a non-story. Johnny is on a swan is a non-story. You can't keep dismissing these things as non-stories. They're little incidents, little brush fires that you have to address and that you have to put out. But it's good that he's defending his guys. His guys will know that he has their back. But by the same token, I think you have to look at this and say, okay, maybe it's a little red flag. Maybe Johnny has to do something a little differently in these situations. Maybe he has to disconnect quicker. But whatever the case may be, it's something more than a non-story.
Mary Kay, do you think they're handling Johnny Manziel in the media different than they're handling Johnny Manziel behind closed doors?
Yeah, probably. I think that Mike probably does want to send the message publicly, get off this kid's back. He just got out of rehab. We're trying to, minimize the distractions in his life. We're trying to keep things kind of calm and let him get a chance to recover. And I'm sure I know they talked to him. He admitted that he had a conversation with Johnny about it. So, yes, I do think they're probably handling it a little bit differently and saying, look, you have to keep yourself out of these type of situations. And for a while, Johnny might just have to kind of stay out of the public eye. That's the hardest thing for Johnny. He loves the spotlight. You're going to see him at these Cavs games. He's supposed to be at Joe Hayden's celebrity softball tournament on Saturday night. Out in Eastlake. I just think that, he might want to keep a little bit of a lower profile. Now, I don't think he should stay away from the Cavs games. That's a huge, phenomenal thing that he can do. But, after that, you got to go home right now. Right now, go home and, and don't take part in all the post-game festivity.
Mary Kay, how much do you think this wears on other players as well? Joe Hayden the other day spent, 3-4 minutes answering questions about Johnny Manziel in this incident. Does that start to wear on guys in that locker room?
Yeah, I do think it wears on some of them. When I look back to the Browns Foundation golf outing and I was asking Paul Kruger about, Johnny, moving into his neighborhood, and, he did seem a little bit annoyed by the line of questioning and by talking about Johnny Manziel when, he's come off an 11-sack season and, and those kind of things. So I do think that some players are sick and tired of it, and that's why I think Johnny does have to. I'm not saying that he should hole up in the house and not do anything, but he's starting to be out and about a lot, and I frankly don't know if he's emotionally ready to handle everything that's going to come at him right now. Therefore, laying low is not the worst thing to do for him right now.
Mary Kay, when it comes to Johnny Manziel, Ray Farmer has talked about him and said that, they still believe in him, still believe that he can be a successful quarterback. Mike Pettin has talked about Johnny Manziel. New offensive coordinator John DeFilippo has talked about him. If you read between the lines, where does this organization stand with Johnny?
They're in wait-and-see mode. They're waiting to see if he can work his aftercare program and stay on the straight and narrow. They're waiting to see if he can develop into an NFL quarterback. They don't know the answer to any of those questions yet, and no one really does. They needed to take care of A before they could move on to B, and right now he's a work in progress, I see things on the football field. Right now, people can't get too worked up about what you see in OTAs. The offense they're in install mode. They're learning a whole new scheme. They don't even know exactly what a game plan would look like yet until they find out who can do what. So I don't think anybody should get too worked up by what they're seeing in practice. Besides, there's a couple other things to consider. Johnny's working with the second-team offense primarily. That's going to look a little different than when you're working with the first-team offense. And also, a lot of times he's going up against one of the best secondaries. Sometimes he works against the first-team defense. He's going up against the Joe Haydens and the Dante Whitners. And it's a tremendous secondary. It really is. So they are way ahead of the offense right now, but I just don't think that you can get too alarmed about what you see.
Mary Kay, you mentioned that secondary, and of course last week Dante Whitner put it right up there with Seattle as far as secondaries in the league. A lot of talk about how good they can be if Tayshaun Gibson comes back. When can we expect Gibson to actually show up?
Well, it's going to be a little bit of a process, I think. I don't think he's ready to come back yet, and there's a couple of key dates coming up, and that is on June 15th. The Browns have a little bit of leverage right now in that they can reduce his offer to 10% of his base salary last year, which works out to $627,000 for 2015, as opposed to the $2-point-something million he would play if he signed the tender. So that's June 15th. That can start happening. And then June 16th is the beginning of the mandatory minicamp. And if he doesn't show up for that, that's really a very strong contract stand that he would be taking. I don't know what their strategy is for that yet, but, that's something to circle in red and try to see where they are going with this. I think ultimately the Browns have the money and would like to keep Tayshaun around. So I do believe that they'll probably get it worked out, but I think there's going to be some bumps along the way.
Mary Kay, I know it's only OTAs and you only put so much stock into OTAs, and we've seen guys during OTAs go on to get cut in training camp, but who has stood out to you so far?
Well, who looked good the other day was Duke Johnson was very impressive the other day. You can see the burst, the acceleration, the explosiveness. All of the running backs actually look pretty good. They're, the three guys from last year, Terrence West, Isaiah Crowell, and Glenn Winston. I mean, they're all now another year in the NFL, and I think those guys are ready to take it up to the next level, and I think Duke's going to press them for playing time. So those guys look good. From the receiver standpoint, Dwayne Bowe tweaked his knee the other day. Don't know if he's, practicing yet today or not. If not, he should be back by next week. But there's a couple of guys that are banged up on the receiving corps, so we can't really tell what that's going to look like yet. Brian Hartline rode a bike the other day. Vince Mailey's got his thumb in a cast. So once again, I don't think anybody should be too alarmed about any of that. But then, there's some young guys that are starting to look pretty good out there. Nate Orchard, I think he's showing some good things, some good burst and some good acceleration. Again, they're not in contact situations right now, but you can kind of see, who has the athletic ability at this point. Danny Shelton not around, we know that. He's not there, and I think he's going to fall behind a little bit, but he should be able to catch up by the training camp runs around, and then Cam Irving, they're moving him all over the place. So they just really kind of need to find a home for him. He worked at left tackle the other day, so that's one to watch.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, our Browns beat reporter. Thanks for the time, Mary Kay.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to talk